look up my name or look up the CSCI 1933, and it should pop up the rest of the information. But I'll show you when I go here, and I'll go to YouTube, and I'll search for CSCI 1933, and it should have came up 01, what it is, 22, 2020. All right. So did it come up? It didn't come up.
Yeah, that's your
That's my page, but I was looking for the stream.
You go to it from your page.
The what?
So you click on your page.
Yeah, but oh, okay. And see, this is it live. All right. So you see, now we are live. So we'll get back to the class. Yes, sir.
When I typed that in, you didn't pop up.
What pop up?
You didn't pop up.
When you type CSCI, no space, 1933.
Oh, no space.
Right.
It might only pop up because you're probably.
I'm logged in.
Yeah.
Well, try looking for David Sylvester or whatnot, and then go to.
Oh, I found it.
You found right. So it should be an easy. I won't say that easy, but it shouldn't be that hard to find.
It didn't have to be.
Oh, you got it. All right. Okay. So, class. The assignment. Any questions about the assignment? So let's look at online GDB. All right. I'll choose online GDB as an example of what we was doing for the assignment. So for the assignment, I told you to write a program that added 2 numbers, right? And then I also told I told you to just type that program that was already written, but also add the header file, right, with name, whatever. So what happens is you have a C++ program, all right? So we'll take a C++ program. All right, and I'll just write a little small one. And I told you that's your shell. Now you can put whatever you want. I'm gonna just say "see out" in Baton Rouge Community College.
Subscribe to it.
Well, I'll do it. All right. So what that will do? And I'll just write a little small one. Oh, somebody got the voice. Got to mute it. Just mute the sound. All right. So now, we have the program, right? So now we want to create a header file. Create a header file in online GDB. You would have to click on this icon here to add a file. In Visual, how many people was using Visual? I think I had some how-to links that showed you, right? I didn't have that. If not, I'll go through Visual. So what we'll do is we'll click here on Add a File, and this file would be a file we're loading. So we'll call it. I could say info.h. All right. That means that's a file I'm gonna be loading. So I'll do the pound include IO stream, and then I can do my function of what I'm gonna be doing. Like say this is gonna be void because I'm not returning anything, and I could say my data. All right. So this is my function header. This would be the body of my function. Whatever I'm gonna put in it. If I'm outputting anything, calculating something, then output whatever, right? You could any valid C++ statement you can put in here, right? So I could say C out, just one statement. I'll say C out, and I'll put 2 spaces, and I'll just say /t CSCI 1933. All right, then space another line. So That's all I'm doing here. All right, I'm not doing anything else. But I have to know what? The name of the header file, right? And I need to know the name of the function that I'm going to be calling in that header, that's in that header file. Everybody understand that? Now, I could have multiple functions. I could have functions with my data. Then I got to have functions with my school information. A function with my driver's license information. You understand? So that when you go back to your main program, you could call any one of that information that you want to print whenever you want to by just calling the function. Okay? So I'll go back to main. Now, I have to know the name of the file to do what? Type in the what? To load the header file. So, and any user-defined header file is enclosed in double quotes. Gotta remember that. It's enclosed in double quotes. So if you was doing your assignment and was trying to use those carets, less than, greater than, you was gonna get errors. So any user-defined function, header file, you put them in double quotes. So our function name is what? Info.h. Remember what we said about C++ and basically Unix, Linux, and whatnot? Case sensitive. So if I did capital I info.h as the header file, I'd have to use that same spelling, capital I info.h in my code, right? You got to be the same. Now, that loads the file. Let me get out of this. That loads the file, all right, which is this information. So it's pulling in IO stream, so I don't have to use IO stream again in the main function. It's pulling it from here, all right? And it also saying, okay, now I have a valid function that I can call, right? Because I'm pulling that also. So when I go back to here, I want to do what? My data. So wherever I want to print out my data, whether it's before that C out of Baton Rouge Community College or even after, you understand? I have to do what? My info, I can type, and call that function. All right? Everybody see that? Like I said, if I wanted to print, call that function and print CSCI before Baton Rouge Community College, I would put the call before. If I wanted to print out CSCI1933 after BRCC, I would move the call after that C out statement. Okay? So now when I run it, all right, let me move this up. So when I run it, I got an error. Let's say void my data. Oh, it's my data, huh? Right. It's my data, not my info. Okay?
My data.
So this is my data. All right. So let's run it again. All right. Well, let's see. I got another error. See? Oh, that's why I think. Yeah, because of that. Okay. I think this. Yeah. So run it. Wait a minute. Info. And it says function void my data. C out was not declared in the scope. C out is because we loaded it. Not here, cancel. All right, let's see info. I can make it. IO stream. So we did the pound include IO stream. No. Yeah, I didn't do what? Using namespace. All right. So I didn't load that the standard library. But it should have. I think that should have worked.
I'm still getting here.
You still getting one?
Yes, sir.
I'll include. Let me run it.
I gotta take void my data out.
You see what I'm saying? So I really don't need this, but I do need. Well, I need the other one. That's right. Right. All right. So wherever I had the IO stream, right. See, my IO stream was in my info. So I loaded the IO header file and then use the namespace. All right.
Time to.
And then in my main function, when I call info.h, it loads all that IO stream in the standard library. All right. So and look here. Here is the information, CSCI1933, and then from the main program is what? Baton Rouge Community College. Right? Any questions?
Yes, I'm getting a lot of errors.
Like what?
There's a whole lot of stuff popping up. Well, I'm running it again, so I'm see.
Huh?
I'm running it again.
In visual?
She's doing
Online GDB.
Oh. But what's one of the errors? Because being that it's a compiler, you might have one thing that's causing the error.
You using your main as your info.
Yeah, main can only be used
See,
in the main.cpp or the main program.
so you take that.
All right.
Oh,
Now, so let's look at. I'm gonna minimize it. Well, I'll minimize it. Let's look at the. They don't even have it.
but I got it.
Can't do it. Visual Studio. They don't even have it on the computer.
It's okay, I'm currently switching to G.
You
Oh, you're gonna.
Yes, if
Okay.
anybody else,
the
Yeah. See, Visual Studio, we can't load anything. They're the only one who can load something. So I'm gonna have to put a request for that. But I put a request so I can write on my smart board. They haven't
you're
done that
calling it
yet.
in this
can
one.
I see your info.h again?
Okay.
Mine's not calling for some reason.
All right. The info.h file. The info.h file, your header file. Now, if I was using math functions or whatever, I could do the pound include math.h, and then when I call info, all that be there. But look, I got the pound include IO stream. You got that spelled right? Then you got using namespace, std. Now, this is your function header. Void. Now you don't have a semicolon at the end of that your argument list. All right, and then you got your body, open parentheses, close parentheses, and whatever you got, whatever you want to do inside there. That's how you got it.
Yeah.
Now go back to the main. I'm gonna get to you. Is this in double quotes? You see, so that makes a difference because it's looking at it as a system file if it's within the application. If it's with the carriage, but if it's double quotes, that's user defined.
IO stream here is your call.
What your question was?
So but like it has void my data and that doesn't have the semicolon.
No,
because you're not calling it then. Right?
Well, you're not calling it, then you're defining it. So you're defining what the function is to be doing. Once you put the semicolon, you cutting it off, saying I'm finished with it.
Yeah.
Right.
So you leave it open so that when you call it in the main.
This is the body. This will be the body of that function. Look at the main function. Look at main. And we've been writing programs like from last semester, right? Int main. Do you ever put a semicolon after the main? Because it has a what? A body.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't put the semicolon at the end. Because you wanted to know or have the body a part of that. So when you call it, it's going
yeah, the semicolon.
You cutting it short. Just like with the if statement, you stop it.
It would have an error too, because it.
Right, because you won't have a body to do whatever, to run and return 0 and all those things. Right. All right. Any other questions? Questions? I can't do the visual because the software is not on this computer. All right. So everybody somewhat comfortable with doing the assignments or the 2 assignments. Right. Really just taking those programs, writing them out. And what you can do, you could write out the program itself and make sure they work. And then go back and do the header file. And that way you're not trying to fight with, I got to change this, and you're changing something that the program has. All right? Yes.
That header file you got us to use, with the template, is that we're going to be using that for the rest of the year?
Mm-hmm.
So just
right. Whenever you submit a program, name, whatever. Call from that header file that you create.
Okay, so it doesn't have to be called like program. This, that.
Because when I look at it and I grade it, I'll say, okay, when you download it, I'll say, okay, his header file is whatever. His function is whatever called whatever, and I could change it in the program.
This one.
But you can keep it the same to make it easier on me, but you don't have to.
Yeah,
See, I don't want you to be closed-minded to be like, well, in Mr. Sylvester class, this is how he taught it, and this is what it's. No, that's not what it's supposed to be. It's user defined. You make it whatever you want to make it.
Yeah,
Right.
mine's just header.cpp.
Right. Okay? Any other questions? No questions? So I'm gonna have all of my programs by when? When was the deadline?
Look,
11:59 tonight, right?
What's in the
Make sure your internet does work.
user defined.
Okay.
functions, You have to put it in double quotes, not these.
Now,
So you would do include info.h, and now it calls in specific. It can be called from this. So when it goes down to my data, that's something being called from this function. So when you run it, yeah, right. So it should do it now.
I can't tell you.
Let's see, you have to. So you got this open close. Open close.
We talking about before this. Way before.
No, it's talking about before this. Maybe. Oh, I think I might. Oh, let's see what the difference is. Let me see. Oh, okay, yeah, got it. And oh, sure.
All right. So this is our first class going through the chapter, right?
There you go.
Oh.
Huh?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Now, if you took 192, this is basically the chapter is basically the same. It's an introduction, computer science, and basically the same exact material. All right, from the introduction of the 192 class.
I sent you a message about emailing me the PDF.
Oh, okay. All right. So now, if we look, chapters 1. All right. So what I'll do, I'll increase it. All right. And we talk about programming. So, pretty much, what is a program, class? What would you consider a program to be?
An executable file.
Huh?
An executable file.
An executable file, right? Statements that are executed, right? All right. So a program is really what? Lines of statements that are executed, right? That the computer will what? Execute. All right. Basically, that's what it is. All right. And what? What happens is you, hopefully, in the near future, you will be called a what? A programmer, right? A person that will be what? Writing that code so that the computer can what? Execute. Okay? But you cannot just write code haphazardly, right? Code has to be written what? In logical order. Everybody agree with that? All right? It has to be in a logical manner. So, one of the things and we're going to get to it, when writing code, number one, you need to understand what the problem is, and then number two, you need to write it out step by step by step by step, and then attempt to what? Write the code, right? Otherwise, you'd have most times you'll be what? Trying to restart. Oh, I thought it was this way. Let me restart, do it over. But if you sit down, write it out, and go through it, and test it. And when I say test it, get with a group. Hey, I'm doing it this way, this right, whatever. And then you can actually talk about it, get out the logical bugs, and then when you start writing it, you have a much better chance of getting it done completed in a more efficient time span. All right? But you will be the programmer, all right? So, and like I said, a programmer is also called a software developer. You're writing code for a program, all right? All right. So, computer programming is both an art and a science, all right? And they call it a science because you have to sit down and actually analyze it, put it together, research it, and go through the proper steps. Make sure that it's going, doing a lot logically flowing the way it's supposed to flow, all right? Because we could do something like what? Step by step by step by step, correct?
Correct.
But in computer science, then you start getting into if statements, start getting into while loops, then you start getting into nested if, nested loops, and that can be what? Very, very confusing. So you have to pretty much put it down on paper, go through it, look at it, make sure it's right before you actually attempt to work on it. Otherwise, you're just giving somebody something that might work in one instance, but when they do it in, for another value or something, it bombs out. All right? All right. Now, with computers, there are hardware and we know our software, right? The hardware would be what? The physical components. What are some of the components of a computer? We normally call the entire computer a system, but really you break it down, you have the different components. What are some of the components or attachments of the computer?
Monitor.
Monitor.
RAM.
Huh? Components would be what plugs into the computer.
Mouse.
The mouse,
Keyboard.
webcam, keyboard, right?
External hard.
Printer, external hard drive. So all those are components, right, of that box, that system, right, that you have. Okay? But in order for all those mechanisms to work, we need what? We need what? Software. Now, let me ask you this question. It's not in the book. What are that software normally called? Begin with a D.
What it say?
What is that software normally called? I know they use firmware sometimes, but it's another word begin with a D.
Disk.
Like you're looking for a file. What's that file is?
Disk.
Driver? Right. Like say, they'll say you need that driver file in order for it to work, right? How many people have ever bought a printer and just plugged it up and it wasn't in the if it was Windows, and it wasn't listed in the defaults of the Windows, and then you tried to print and all you got was the funny characters or whatnot. Then you have to go in the box and get the what? The driver disk and install it, and then your printer works, right? And different components would need that. Some of them, like I say, Microsoft try to do a good job of saying, okay, every time they come out with either an update or a new release, they'll try to get all of the standard equipment and have those drivers in the list so that when you plug, they can say, well, we're a true plug-and-play system, right? But sometimes a new device comes out and you have to load that driver, all right? But that would be a component. But then the software is what allows it to communicate with that system, all right? So, dealing with the hardware, what are some of the parts of the computer's hardware? And you had said the CPU, which is internal, all right? But the hardware, you had said the RAM, right? Mm-hmm. Now, the hardware would be like the CPU. Now, the CPU stands for what?
Central Processing Unit.
Central Processing Unit. That's why all of the instructions go through to be executed, all right? Now, so the CPU, and if we had this question or this discussion with my other class, my 192 class. With the CPU, what happens is the more speed they gain with a computer execution, the more heat is generated in a computer, right? So they have to find ways to cool down that CPU so what? Your computer wouldn't burn up. And what are some of the ways they do that?
Water cooled.
Huh?
Water cooled.
Right. They talked about that. I didn't know about, not say know about it, but I didn't know the concept and how they did it. But they do use kind of like a water cooling system, like a radiator in a vehicle, where the water goes and cool off and come back through. That's one way. What's another way?
Normal fan.
They use a fan, and what else? What's another way?
Sometimes the computer shut down, or like
It will shut down.
when my phone get how it does.
It will. And normally it's a safety mechanism. Even your cars do that now. Like engines, if they run over and if they overheat to a certain temperature, they'll just shut off to protect the engine. Yeah. But the computer do it too, because it just can't process the data. But you said what? A heat sink, right? Yes, ma'am.
I didn't see the police officers like how they would raise their hood up to
They have to, because it would overheat.
Keep the engine
regardless of the radiator fluid, yeah, in